It is no longer news that there is tension going on in Europe as Russia is invading um, Ukraine. Now, this tension is not only in Europe but also in the whole world, and the market has been reacting to this event. And I just want to bring to you guys how these things do affect the market and what are the opportunities they present to us as traders, because this is not going to be first, this is not going to be last time these kinds of things will happen, and the market is always going to react, but you got to understand what opportunities are presented to you as a trader. Okay, so these are events that do affect the sentiment of the market, how the market will trade, how the market will do things. It will determine the flow of capital in the market. Okay, because um, investors are going to be thinking of the best point or the best place to put your money in order for them to either get yield. But at times like this, they are not just pursuing yield, they are looking for a preservation of their wealth actually. Okay, so you have things like this do repeat itself over and over again, different magnitude, different shape. It will repeat itself and the market is always going to react, but you got to understand what is actually going on. So this is indeed how to engage the market. In a separate video, guys, I'm going to talk about how to do the real fundamental analysis, where you are able to determine what is behind the decisions of the big investors to actually move their capital. So you're actually finding out why the big investors are going to be moving their capital, where they're going to be moving it from, and to where, because this will now show us what is going to gain value or what is actually gaining value at that particular time at the expense of what that presents to you the best trade setup you can ever have. Okay, now we are traders, guys, and we're looking to make money off of the opportunities presented to us by the events, but we are also humans, guys. Our heart is with Ukraine, our heart is with those people, these innocent people in Ukraine and Russia, and our prayers are with them. But let's get on to what we have right here, guys. So how is the market affected? Generally speaking, guys, these are times when the market will fly to safety because of fear, because of uncertainty. Now, the market is going to be buying into safe haven assets, okay, as they fly to safety. All right, so safe haven assets, and that is where you have something like gold coming in. All right, so earlier today we saw gold spike up really strongly. You can see the big move, how gold has been moving up. This is the 50 moving average, and we've been seeing gold trading above that 50 moving average. And then we saw this huge spike, and yesterday, coming into this morning, actually we saw gold moving up really strongly, because the rumors was that, or the news actually, not rumors, but the news was that Russia started launching attacks into into Ukraine, and it all becomes more pronounced. Okay, and so the market reacted based on all of that, and we saw gold going up very strongly because gold is seen as a safe haven asset. Okay, so during times like this, you will have gold doing really, really great. So the flight to safety is what is actually causing the gold to go up. Okay, now you also have other assets that are regarded as safe haven assets. Now these assets will go up at the expense of those high yield, high risk assets, like for instance the stock markets. So you're going to have stock markets, for instance, around the world dropping, and then you have things like gold, which is considered to be a safe haven asset, right? So let's take a look at another asset that you can consider to be a safe haven asset. So the US 10-year bond. Okay, so the US 10-year bond, guys, that's the United States 10-year government bond, is also considered to be a safe haven asset. So this is a government bond of the United States, the 10-year government bond, and this is considered to be a safe haven asset because it is backed by the US government. Okay, so it is backed by the US government, and this also applies to government bonds in different countries. Okay, so they are because they are backed by government. they are seen as safe haven assets. Okay, not corporate bonds, but these are government bonds. Okay, so uh, you can see how we moved up very strongly. And earlier today, we saw a very big push up to the upside, and just the market is just retracing back, um, as the day is closing. Okay, but you see the market reacting based on the fear. Okay, so there's a flight to safety basically. So another thing that you're going to be seeing at times like this is the market, the big investors actually unwinding carry trades. Okay, and what this is going to result into is that you're going to see the low yielding currencies rising up at the expense of high yielding assets and currencies around the world. Okay, so carry trade simply is a business model, it's a trading model where you have people borrowing from a low yielding currency and using that to buy up high yielding assets or high yielding currencies. Okay, and times like this, that is not encouraged, because it is a business model with high risk. Okay, so much risk in it, and God willing, we'll be able to talk about that much more later. And so at times like this, you're going to see that unwinding of carry trades, and that is why we can see something like the GBP. Let's take a look at the the GBP JPY. So sorry, GBP JPY. You know, let's go to forex.com. So GBP JPY is an example of what I'm trying to say. So JPY is considered to be a funding currency for carry trade, and we see recently the British people, the monetary policy makers in UK, they've been discussing, talking about increasing interest rate and all of that stuff, and so it, we can see the market reacting based on this. So we can see that JPY is doing greatly against, appreciating greatly against the British pound. And there's another thing that is actually playing out here. Okay, we can see that the UK also is in Europe. Okay, and you have Japan in Asia. All right, so you have these guys being very vocal about the old thing about Russia and all of that stuff, how that they would be in support of Ukraine and all of that, So people have seen that as you know as a situation that is not too good for the UK, because anything can happen, guys. Anything can really happen, and so that is another thing that is actually pressing on the British pound at the moment. But you also have the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson coming out to say that they are not really going to rely much more, going forward. They don't want to rely much more on the Russian, oil and natural gas, you know and what that is going to cause is that the economy of UK, and indeed most of the Europe, who are going to adopt such decisions and such decisions going forward, actually, the price of oil in those countries are going to go up, right? The price of oil is going to go up, and that is going to tell on their business. Okay, that's going to tell on the overall output and all of that stuff. So all of that as well is putting weight on the British pound. But based on the ongoings in the market right now, I mean the ongoings in the global economy, um, or in a global cycle, I should say, where you have Ukraine, this tension between Ukraine and Russia. You say carry trade is not something that is actually encouraged. So value, or if you like, capital, is going to be flowing into the British pound, into the Japanese yen, at the expense of much more volatile currencies like GBP, for instance, is a very volatile currency, and high yielding currencies. Okay, so relatively high yielding currencies are going to be losing value to relatively lower yielding currencies. Okay, now similar things should happen. Let's look at we'll look at something like GBP CHF, for instance. Okay, GBP CHF, for instance, as well. Okay, so British pound, Swiss franc. Um, let the chart come up so you can see what is happening as well. Similar thing happening in the GBP JPY chart. CHF also is it doubles to be um, it doubles as a safe haven, as a safe haven currency, as well as a funding currency because of its low interest rates. Okay, so you know, about 20%, that's what it said, 20% of the reserve of the Swiss franc is in gold, and so the market actually considers it to be a safe haven currency. All right, so during times like this, you would see definitely CHF appreciating, especially against, you know, the currencies that are perceived as high risk currencies at this times, which are going to be the high yielding currencies, and all of that stuff. Now, because of the act of carry trade, actually, because carry trade, people are unwinding carry trade, and that is going to cause those high yielding currencies to shrink, all right, in value. And while the low yielding currencies are going to rise in value as people bring funds back into those funding currencies. All right, so I hope you got some information from here. So once you have this kind of understanding, you understand that you already know what the market is most likely going to do in this case. Okay, so you can see how that the market pushed up and broke down. You understand based on what is going on that this is most likely going to continue downwards, and if you go down to a lower time frame, then that's when you can look to take your bearish order block setup, for instance. Okay, sorry for that. So that's when you can look to take your bearish order block, for instance, and then, you know, look to continue the trend. You can do this on any of the assets. It could be gold, or it could be the GBP CHF pair. It could be the GBP JPY pair. It could be the Oxy JPY pair. So just for you to understand what I'm saying, so let's go look for Oxy JPY. Okay, and so Oxy JPY. So let's go here. So Oxy JPY also is also expected to do same. You can see the tasted is high, for instance, and then dropped off. How do you know that this high is not going to be broken through? Okay, so how do you know? How do you know? Or if there's any breakthrough the high, you know that it is most likely going to be a seek of liquidity, as I've been talking about, a grab of liquidity to engineer short positions. How do you know? Simply because of the events that are going on. We know that the Australian dollar is a commodity-based currency, and therefore um, it is also considered to be you know, like a high risk currency compared to the Japanese yen, and Japanese yen is seen as a funding currency compared to the Oxy because of their low interest rate. And so at times like this, you should see the Oxy losing value at the expense of Japanese yen. And so that's exactly what we had. We can see the reaction of the market yesterday, and how the market, I mean today actually, how the market did drop, coming from yesterday actually. So we can see how the market did drop, failing to break through that high. Okay, and so these are times when you can actually use all your technical analysis. It could be you can see where double top actually worked really great. Okay, but you can also have your order block set up. You can have your trend line breakout. You can have moving average crossover, and all of that stuff, guys. Those things begin to work more beautifully. They look like they're the best kind of technique to use when you back your analysis with something like this. Okay, understanding how the investors are reacting, you know, based on the event that is ongoing in the global economy. Okay, so that is it for you guys. In a separate video, guys, in another video, I'm going to teach on how to carry out fundamental analysis. And for me, fundamental analysis, like I said before, is trying to find out the direction of the capital flow of the big investors, because you understand something, guys. Your little trade is not going to move the market. You're actually trying to find out what is going to cause the big boys to buy something, and what is going to cause them to sell something. And you can now use price action to know if they have actually started the program of buying and selling. Okay, so but once you find out where their capital is flowing out of and flowing towards, it makes your job much more easier. All right, so that is it for from me, guys. Stay safe, stay blessed, and pray for the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia who at this time may be undergoing a lot of stress. Okay, so God bless you all.